Hello, welcome back to SEOleverage.com. This is episode 70, and I'm very happy to welcome the fresh princess of email marketing, Liz Wilcox, today. Welcome, Liz.
Hey, I'm so excited to talk about email today. I know usually we don't get excitement around email, but things are about to change.
I'm definitely certain you are probably the only person who's able to change this. We got introduced through a common friend, John Ainsworth, who was a guest on this show a few episodes ago, talking about paid ads funnels. So if anybody wants to know more about this, definitely find this episode on SEOleverage.com/podcast. I would want to ask you to tell us a little bit about your background. How did you become this fresh princess of email marketing? Were you always sending emails, or how did this actually start?
Yeah, so I actually started off as an RV, caravan travel blogger. And so a lot of email marketers, a lot of copywriters, people like that, they start out kind of the opposite. They work for other people, right? They work under an agency or they're freelancing, and they kind of, what do they say? Like cut their chops. That's not the right saying, but they learn email marketing and these marketing strategies through, helping others build their businesses. So I did it a little backwards. I actually had my own RV travel site. Depending on where you're at in the world, you might call it a caravan. And I started it as a business. It wasn't, when you hear blog, you might think like online diary, online journal, right? And so I wasn't actually even traveling yet when I started this blog, but I knew, I had bought the RV and I had, listened to podcasts like this, Googled a few things, and I saw all these people making money online. And I thought I could do that too. So I started my blog and immediately, started digging in, listening to, different experts, opting in, we all opt into like 100 things, right? We get on 100 email lists at once when we first start. Exactly. And so that was me. And the common thread I saw, no matter what anyone was teaching, and this goes back to John and Gert's episode about building funnels with ads, like whether they were teaching ads, social media, anything, the bottom of the funnel was always email, right? Like you get them, no matter where you're getting these people, you want to get them into email because, they're just so much more likely to convert. And mama didn't raise no fool. Like I'm nothing if not efficient. I said, okay, well then I'm just going to start building this email list any which way I can. So I started building the email list up. And, then the second thing is, oh, well, now that they're on your email list, you have to sell them something, right? And I was just this lady in an RV. I didn't really know anything about RVing even. And so I just asked my followers, I asked my subscribers, hey, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm brand new to this. I had about 300 people on my list. Why do you follow me? There are so many other more helpful sites than just this lady trying to figure this out. Mm-hmm. Why do you follow me? And they said, well, Liz, you're really funny and you can tell a good story. Mm-hmm. So I put those things together and I thought, okay, my product should be a book of funny stories, about RV life. And I want, if there's nothing else you take from this story, let it just be inspiration that whatever you're selling, it's going to sell better than mine. So I created a book called Tales from the Black Tank. If you don't know anything about caravanning, the black tank is where your sewage goes. And it was just a collection of funny, crappy stories, right? Mm-hmm. And it made $7,000 in the first 90 days. It got picked up by an international sponsor that was, giving it away for free, giving me $7 for every lead that they obtained through this book. And if I could sell that, knowing almost nothing about marketing other than, email is lucrative, whatever your idea is, whatever you're struggling to sell, whatever's not converting the way you want it to right now, as you listen to this, I promise you it can and will sell with the right strategies. So that's how I got into it.
Right. I'm absolutely sure it will. And I want to definitely get as many knowledge bombs as possible here for our audience. But you talked about how you started your list. what do you think is a good way to actually start a list? A lot of our clients already have a really interesting list and they use email marketing a little bit better, a little bit worse, but they do this actively. What do you think someone who doesn't have like a big list, should they really start building this?
Yeah. So what I like to say, I'm very 90s branded. If you're just listening to the podcast and you can't see me on YouTube right now, like I have an NSYNC poster on in the background. I have a Will Smith shirt on. My logos are very 90s colors. So I'm going to make a reference here. So list building and visibility, like going on podcasts like this, they're like Mary Kate and Ashley. They're different, but basically the same. So in order to list build, you just need more visibility. You just need to, however you're doing it right now, if you have a freebie, some kind of discount, whatever your opt-in is, you just need to make it visible in more places, whether that is actual like PR, getting on podcasts, doing conferences, networking that way, or, running ads is another good one. Again, listen to John's episode here a few back. Or you can simply you have to optimize where you're already at. So what I like to say, and what the biggest mistake I see people making, is not optimizing their websites for opt-ins. Mm-hmm. So go to your homepage when you're done listening to this, of course, but you want to see how many times directly on your homepage you are asking people to opt in. It should be at least 3 to 5 times. For a good example, obviously you can go to lizwilcox.com. You can check it out. I think I've got 5 or 6 times where I'm like, hey, get on the list, get on the list. Even at the bottom, again, another like 90s reference, I say, oops, you did it again. You didn't join my email list. And of course, what I say is not what you're going to say, but you want people to opt in. And then you want to go to your about page. And your about page should tell a story, not about you, right? But about your customer, your ideal client, whatever you want to call them. But it should also, the story should lead into them needing whatever your opt-in is, whatever your freebie. So my freebie is like a welcome sequence, some other swipe files. And so, I tell the story of how I got into email. Then I say, I want the same way I said, hey, whatever your idea is, it's better than my book about poop. I think I say that exactly on my homepage. And then I say, you just need X to get started. X is my freebie, get it now. Mm-hmm. So definitely use those as a framework. If you don't have that optimized, I would say, go to your calendar, block off 40 to 60 minutes, in the next 7 days of listening to this, and, go through your website and make sure it's optimized, because it doesn't matter if you get on 100 podcasts this year, if you're directing them to your homepage and it doesn't actually sell your email list, right? It's not gonna do much. It's gonna be all for naught. I hope that's helpful.
This is really, really helpful. I can definitely confirm 2 things here. Whenever I'm on a podcast or on a YouTube interview or something like this, the list always grows. Even when we didn't, we now have the site a little bit better optimized. But I'm going to check if we have 3 to 5 references on the homepage. We might have only 1 or 2. But I do know my people who download my book when I'm on a podcast. I know we get more opt-ins, we get more quick audits directly in. So this definitely works for us. And I can definitely also confirm that visibility in general works. So we run ads to freebies. And this definitely works. The about page, I think this is a little bit of a misconception, right? The about me page is not about me, it's about you.
Right.
It's something I had to learn the hard way at some point. Yeah, definitely interesting. So everybody, after this episode, go check your site, check if you have a lot of references. This is something that also came up with a discussion with John, interestingly, that the placement of those calls to action are so important. We have so many clients coming into us, and they have like one line at the bottom of this article and say, now, if you want to know more, do this or that, or opt in or something like this. And then you start putting 3 to 5 calls to action through this long article, and suddenly the magic happens. So conversion optimization, even though we're focused on SEO, is definitely part of what you're also doing. So this is really great. So, but now, if you have a list, you have your list building methods in place, and you see this growing, etc. Now, obviously, you want to leverage this, you want to do something about this, but email marketing is just so hard, right? So at least this is like the common theme I hear from my clients, from people I talk to. They say, yeah, we try to do more email marketing, but we can't really do this. And then I come to lizwilcox.com, and it seems like everything easy cheesy. Why is it so hard, and how can you make it easier?
Yeah. So like I was saying about, a lot of other email marketers, they started off as copywriters. They were working with people with well-established businesses and mostly personal brands, right? And so that's not every business. Every business is not a personal brand. Some of us are e-commerce. Some of us have local shops. Some of us are just bloggers that, maybe our personal brand is very micro of the micro, right? And we don't have all these, big giant stories. We don't have people invested in, our entire life story. So like, what do we do? And especially we didn't get into business to tell stories, right? We got into business to serve our people X way. Maybe somebody sells shoes. You didn't get into business to tell stories. You're trying to sell shoes. So it can seem like a real disconnect when you hear about email marketing, when even when you listen to things about funnels, and it's like, okay, well, I got them on the list, and I went dead. I emailed for a little bit, and then it was just too hard, so I just stopped. So when I started my first business, again, I was in an RV. I was living in 200 square feet. I didn't even have internet on my phone. And so I had to go out and I had to like take internet from businesses, like sit outside in front of the library or the, like the home improvement store or the recreational center. And so when I was looking at these other ways of email marketing, when I was trying to learn, because again, I heard like so many awesome things about making money with your email list, I thought, okay, but this isn't going to work for me because I have 20 minutes. I don't have time to build out this long funnel. I don't know my customers enough to write out a 3-month sequence. I just have to do something that's going to, be really quick, get out the door, build that relationship that I know I need to build, open up that communication source and get out of there. So I created something over time called the email staircase. Like first you have a follower, right? Somebody finds you on Instagram, social media, they see an ad of yours, you get them on your list and you turn them into a friend, and then you turn them into a customer. Now, I'm not talking about friends as in, we all live in New York City in an apartment and we all date each other from the 90s, not that kind of friend. We don't want to share all our dirty laundry with each other, but a friend that you have a mutual interest with. So Gert here was talking about, hey, I checked out Liz's website, he gets on there, like suddenly we both have this mutual interest of email marketing. That's what we're going to talk about, right? Like even if if you had an NSYNC fan club, right? Like you would just talk about NSYNC, right? That's what people would expect from you. Mm-hmm. And so when you have this list of friends, when you open up that communication channel, people will just tell you, like I said earlier at the top of the hour, what they want to hear from you. Oh, Liz, you tell really good stories and you're funny. Oh, okay. Well, I guess my product should be funny stories, right? And so when you've got this follower to friend thing, I just want you to know a few things. To turn them into a friend, you only have to do 3 things. And this is really simple. Number 1, you have to invest your time in them. So Gert here has his podcast. That's very obvious. He's investing time to learn about, SEO, marketing in general, staying on the up and up of everything to share it with you. It's very obvious he's investing his time in you, right? Number 2, you want to share in a relatable way. So right now, I've mentioned NSYNC a couple times. I've got, Will Smith on my chest. I wasn't sharing that with my RV travel blog. My RV travel blog consisted of mainly men in their 60s. I think it was almost 70% men in their 60s. They don't care about Justin Timberlake. They probably, sure, they watched a couple episodes of The Fresh Prince, but it really wasn't their thing, right? And so maybe I was sharing more about, like a band like the Grateful Dead and what I was, my travels. That was very relatable to them. So you want to share in a relatable way. And then the third thing, you just have to stay top of mind. Now, this doesn't mean emailing every single day. It doesn't even mean emailing every single week. But if you can set expectations, and we'll talk about this in a second, and say, hey, I'm going to email you the first Thursday of every month. I'm going to email you every other week. I'm going to email you every Tuesday. Whatever it is that you say, if you set that expectation and then you meet it every single time, that's going to help them stay top of mind. It's going to help people build trust. Like, oh yeah, Liz said she was going to email every Tuesday. It's Tuesday. She's emailing me, right? Like that's not a conscious thought, but it's in the back of their mind, right? And that's really important because it builds trust and people buy from people they trust. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. This makes a lot of sense. So you get someone on your list, and the first thing you really aim at is getting this first trust level. So you, through sharing relatable things, sharing common knowledge, common values, etc., or adding value to what they are interested in, you get them to like a little bit of an additional level. So if you sign up for something, you get this freebie. You probably wouldn't really look into this brand any further unless there is anything that triggers you to really take the next email that's coming seriously. So you get to this friend level, you share relatable things. And then this setting expectations, this is really interesting. I very often think about this the other way, where I get emails every single day, like those really long emails. And we talk about storytelling in a moment.
Sure.
Nobody told me I was getting an email every day, right? When I signed up for this, I wish they told me before.
Yeah.
And there is like this theme, you can't email enough. I don't agree with this. I'm not sure what your take is. I think there's like a frequency where it's just going to have diminishing returns for them. Also, so to just email me and to just archive them or filter them until I really sign off from the email list. But actually, you set expectations. You tell them, look, I'm going to email you every week, every month, or something like this with valuable insights. So this gives them a reason to not cancel the subscription immediately after downloading the freebie. And
right.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. So another thing that just comes up with email marketing, and I was briefly introducing this, is this theme of storytelling. So now everybody needs to do storytelling, because otherwise you are forgotten and nobody cares about and remembers what you're saying, because you're all constantly impacted by a lot of things. So this is where you see a lot of a lot of marketers packing everything in a story and then sending this out, which obviously then translates into very, very long emails. So you really need to go through this and find out who is the hero in this journey and who is the mentor and how does this work and what's the struggle and all those frameworks. What's your take on storytelling?
Yeah. So of course, I used to be a copywriter. What they say is true. Stories connect. If you've got a really good story, definitely you want to share it, right? There has to be, what do they call it? Like a founder story, why you got into this, right? But again, like I was saying earlier, you're probably not a natural, we're all natural storytellers, but some of us just aren't good at it. You've ever been sitting at the table with someone and you're like, oh my gosh, if they don't get to the point, I think I'm going to die. Right? Like humans are natural storytellers, but some of us just haven't honed our craft. And so what I want you to know is, and this is going all the way back to that question about like, how can we actually make this simple? Instead of telling this story and then suddenly, our 10th grade, writing teacher is on our shoulders saying there has to be a beginning and a middle and an end. And where's the hook? And what are your segues? And don't end your sentences in this. I just want to, here's the part where you relax. I just want you to think of it more as giving a personal update. And so as you consistently write your emails, I just want you to give personal updates instead of trying to tell a story. So a personal update is just 2 to 3 sentences of something that you have done, something that's happening in your life since the last time you emailed. So if I was emailing today, I would, maybe mention this podcast. Before we hit record, I was giving a personal update. I was like, hey, oh yeah, no problem. It's 8 a.m. here. I've already gone for a run today. The kids are on the bus. I'm really excited to hit record on this podcast. That's a personal update, right? I mean, it's technically, yes, it's a story, but it just takes that pressure of having to make it so interesting. Like, you could print it out and read it, right? Not everyone is a novelist. And also, like, it's a newsletter, not a novel. So just get to the point. And then you can segue. And by segue, I mean like caps lock. Anyway, ... What I really want to talk to you about is, my new podcast, the new feature on our software. I've got 3 more bookings this month that you can, that are available. Book a call here, whatever it is that you actually want that call to action to be, right? Because Gert said it's so perfect here when he was like, then you have these daily emails and it's, 500 words, 1,000 words, and you have to sift through all of that. And then you're subscribed to 10 of those. And so you just ignore them, right? If you can make your emails familiar, but not predictable, then that's when people are going to open. That's when people are going to get really excited, right? So maybe you do have a really good story that you want to share one week. And then the next week, it's like, I really just want to send out my podcast. Okay, do that. And then the next week, it's, oh, I just learned something new. I want to share that. And then it's, oh, I just want to send out my podcast, right? As long as you're familiar, as long as you're still like yourself, your brand, just don't make it so predictable that people think they know what's inside so that they ignore it.
This makes a lot of sense. I have been trying this and I see definitely good open rates in general by just writing a couple of lines and then a direct YouTube link. I don't even hide it anywhere. This is a YouTube link to the last video and just check this out because I think that's valuable. And then another time, this might be sharing a personal story. So I think I'm probably a little bit in line with this already, but I'm definitely going to try to do a better job here. One thing that always comes to my mind is that not every update is going to be relevant for the entire list. So what you are going to hear marketers say then is that you need to segment, you need to see how did they end up on the list, what did they actually download if you have multiple lead magnets. You need to segment, only share things with parts of the list. Do you think this is necessary or important?
I mean, it depends. If you have one of those businesses where you very much have different ideal clients, then sure, go ahead and do it. I don't think that it's necessary. For me, what I like to tell people is if you're building a business, you want to build a business where you belong, right? Not just where your ideal customer belongs, but where you belong. Obviously, especially if you're watching on YouTube, like I'm very much Liz Wilcox here. Everything, all the things I want to talk about, all the different workshops, I've got it right here in the background. My entire year planned out. There's lots of different workshops, lots of different things going on. But I usually send everything out to everyone. Even I've built 3 businesses and I've always done this because I know there's a certain part that people are just interested in what Liz Wilcox has to say or is, what she's up to, right? And when I want to really kind of get into this, when you build a business and when you build your email list, that leads with personality, vision, and values, people become interested in the whole scope of things. So right now, I just talk mainly about email marketing, but people, are starting to ask me, oh, Liz, you have a $9 membership. How the heck do you make money off of that? That doesn't have anything to do with email, but they're interested in it because they're interested in Liz Wilcox, the brand, right? And so if you lead with a little bit of your personality, your vision for your clients, and your value system, then it doesn't matter if, maybe they're not interested in this particular offer right now, but just knowing that it's available actually might help you sell because that's not for me, but I've got a buddy over here that needs it. The same way like Gert and I were introduced by our buddy, John. oh, Liz, your $9 membership is not for me, but it might be great on this podcast or whatever. Right. So I don't think it's absolutely necessary. If you are listening and you are, like we mentioned at the beginning, like, email, not fun, then just let that go for now. That's something that's more advanced that, doesn't have to be right now.
Makes a lot of sense. I think in our case, I was just wondering in SEO leverage, I think we send most of the emails out to the entire list. So we have some people coming from Shopify sites, some people are course creators, some people are coaches, some are 8-figure B2B businesses. So we have a vast range, but I think most of what we send out is probably available for everybody, which is pretty much SEO advice or announcing a podcast here and there, etc. So I think we don't have this, but if there's something particular only for Shopify, so we would definitely probably segment this and just address those Shopify people. So what you're essentially saying, if I understand you correctly, it's more about you as the person behind this list than actually the business or the overall brand. Is this correct?
Yeah. When you do, especially email, because email is a much more, I don't know, for lack of a better term, intimate space, right? It's one to many, but when you do it properly, when you build that list of friends, it can turn into one-to-one, right? So people are emailing you, even if you did a personal update on, and you joked about going for a run or something, and someone might connect with them versus, the course on Shopify. Oh, I'm a runner too. That's something we have in common, right? And so if you do that again and again, people will just be interested in your business and you growing, like, in general. So I love what Gert just said about, like, yeah, if it's just for Shopify people, I just, I want to make sure I'm not bothering, people who are just on Etsy or Amazon or something like that, right? But you can also, at the bottom of your email, if you've never done the segmenting and you're like, oh, now I have to backtrack and figure that out, you can send out emails that say, hey, at the bottom, hey, if you don't want to hear about this, if this doesn't pertain to you, click here. And then that will automatically, you can set it up so it tags people. So, kind of retroactively that they're not interested in that.
That's perfect. Yeah. I definitely was something I personally learned as well. As soon as I focused on me personally, rather than creating my big agency, this was talking 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was going to launch this big agency and it was going to grow, and we presented ourselves. I'm saying we, and it was just me and then a V8 back then, I think. We presented ourselves like a big brand, and people were entering my office and they were looking left and right and said, where are all the people I was expecting to find here? When we started switching, now we have 30 people and we are actually this agency I was going to create
now
in the first place.
We.
But this didn't happen. This didn't happen until I focused on me personally and just said, look, this is me building this business, and this is me getting a few new team members, and this is me helping you out, and this is me telling you what you can do better. This was a really interesting shift. And then a lot of things happened that actually made this agency slowly happen that we have today and are still growing. But it's really interesting where this brand is like something really cold, right? It's like something very distant, very, very, I don't know how to, it's unapproachable, if you want to call it this way. Whereas if you have a person with those relatable things, you have the feeling there's a person behind it, and it's good. This person is going to answer my email if I hit reply. Then a lot of things change, right?
Yeah. So there's a reason nowadays, like, the market just demands a bit of that. Even if you're Nike, right? Nike is now running, campaigns for Black History Month. Yesterday, at the time of this recording, was International Women's Day. We saw campaigns on that, right? They are trying to give it a personal touch, even though, that is one of the biggest corporations in the entire world. They understand that they need to be leading with that personality, those visions, and those values, right? There's a reason why, I'm trying to think of it, like Coca-Cola would run a social justice campaign. They understand that the market now demands a bit of that personal touch. And I'm not saying like go out and spew your politics at your subscribers and see what happens. Screech the brakes on that one. But there are certain values. There's a vision that you hold for you and your ideal client. There's bits of your personality that you can put in that are going to immediately attract people that like you, like your work, and want to work with you, and that you want to work with them. I see even yesterday, someone asked me a question about, well, how do you get people to fall in love with you? And it's like, when you lead with the personality, vision, and values, you're going to fall in love with those people too, because they let you wear Will Smith. They, they're excited to, make money with email. That's my vision of my company, right? I want you to make money with email. And so, and ... right? So when you lead with that, when you build this business that you belong in as well, like not only are you attracting the right kind of folks to you, but you like them in return. And especially if you are a service provider, you definitely want clients that like you and you like, right?
Absolutely. Like and trust is definitely on the top of the priorities for every service providers. It's just so crowded out there, so much competition. So you need to build this trust over time. We have people very often being on our email list for 6 months, 12 months, even more, until they actually take action, because they just keep receiving this communication. They might not even click on it. They just read it, consume it, and then they come and say, look, I've been reading your emails for a while, and I didn't check in my CRM. And it has been 12 months. And they say, now we're ready. And now we think it makes sense for us. And it's just such a long game, right?
Yeah, that just really goes back to what I was talking about, investing time, staying top of mind, right? Because I love that you brought that up, because I always say people don't buy when you're selling. They buy when they're ready. Mm-hmm. And so with the newsletters, I know we didn't get into this, but with newsletters, putting out offers often, instead of, oh, this is our big launch and we're going to push it out. We're going to have our course and, we're going to make all this money. If you put out offers, if you sprinkle them into your newsletters, whether it's a PS or it's a, hey, don't forget type of thing, then, you're going to get customers like he just said about, hey, I've been checking you out for a year. I'm ready. I've got the money. Let's go. Right. And so there is, cuts out all that noise of, oh, let's get on a sales call. This is scary. I don't know if they're going to say yes. You've already done all the work with your newsletters.
Perfect. That's perfect. I want to quickly recap. There was a lot of information. So we talked about building the list. We talked about visibility, essentially being the most important input to getting this list really built, optimizing the homepage and the about page really for opt-ins, multiple opt-ins on the homepage. Everybody after this call is going to check out lizwilcox.com to see how you are doing. And they probably, as I did, are going to download your swipe file and get your material. Definitely very recommendable. Then I think the first email I did this yesterday, just before going to bed, it took me 3 minutes to write this email. And we made $100 sale out of it, so this was nice.
Hey, I'm glad this is being recorded.
No, absolutely.
That's awesome. I'm so excited.
I did do quite a few email marketing courses over the last 10 years, I think. And I think we got it to a point where I had heard this theme of telling personal stories and make this like a text only email. Don't do a lot of formatting, all those kinds of things. I haven't heard such a really quick approach and framework like you have it. And the material we got from you, there was like a 50 subject lines. We used the first one, by the way, number one, and got great open rate. So it's really, you have a really good system. Really like it. I appreciate you taking the time here to present this to us. We have heard a lot about personal updates, making this really about you as the person behind the email list, not your big brand you're trying to push like I did wrongly in the initial stages. And then this personal touch you want to give your emails to really make this as much as possible a one-to-one communication. People might hit reply also something I would add, probably don't be one of those people who have this no reply at yourdomain.com. In there, I probably would ask people to reply. I'm happy when they reply and get this direct connection. It just builds up so much trust. And probably the theme of this show is going to be people buy when they're ready, not when they're selling. I'm going to make this the theme of this series or this episode, because I think one thing we see all the time is that people just want to force it. They think just because they craft the smartest story with their storytelling framework, it's going to produce sales immediately, and they send this out and watch the statistics and expect the sales coming in. And it's just not how it works. People have a lot going on. And even if they love your material, they might really take some time to actually really get into this, but it might take them a few hits, a few emails, really pointing them to the offer to really take the time and say, okay, now I can spare 5 minutes and check this out and then take action. I really appreciate you taking all this time, Liz. This was great. I personally learned a lot. Hope our audience has been learning a lot as well. I can certainly recommend your material on lizwilcox.com. I want to ask you one final question. Is there one thing that would put the mindset of someone sending out an email to the list into the right state that you could give them on the way?
Anything that I do in my business and really in my life, how I look at it, I ask myself 2 questions. Number 1, what would this look like if it was just easy? And then number 2, what would it look like if it was fun? And that's how I've built my entire business. And that's how you can get going with email and actually make it, just get it out the door. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. You can experiment. You're going to get better and better and better. But, just start with what would this look like if it was just easy? And what would it look like if it was fun? And I hope that helps you get started today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Liz. Everybody listening to this is episode 70. You're going to find it at seoleverage.com/podcast. And definitely make sure you share this with anybody you think can do better in email marketing. Liz has provided, thankfully, so much value here. And I'm really looking forward to getting any comments or feedback on this. If this works for you, make sure to let us know, either Liz or myself here. And if you need help with your SEO, want us have a chat one-on-one with me personally on a Zoom call, head over to seoleverage.com and just get this free consult checked in. Thank you so much, Liz, for coming.
Thanks.